the Shen and Shan Show, where Shenice, my mom,
and Shan the Pan
interview with LGBTQ plus professionals and entrepreneurs.
So let's get giddy and start the show.
Alrighty, guys, we're back rolling in 2021. The Shen and Shan Show. I'm Shan.
I'm Shenice, and we have Miss Tammi Wallace here from the Greater Houston LGBT Chamber of Commerce. We're so excited to have you on, hear your story. I can't wait to dive in. Tammi, please introduce yourself to our audience and give us your short version life story.
Oh, well, first of all, let me say thank you. It is an honor and a pleasure. I've been so looking forward to this, and I'm glad we made it happen.
Yeah.
And what better year than 2021? As you mentioned, Tammi Wallace. I'm actually one of the co-founders of the Chamber, and now I currently serve as the president and CEO of the organization. So I'm sure we'll get into this, but economic opportunity and economic inclusion for the LGBTQ community, that is my passion, without a doubt. So, but I actually was born in Memphis, grew up in a small town right across the state line called South Haven in Mississippi. And I was there until I was 17. And you know that saying, I got to Texas as fast as I could? Yeah, that would be me. Although I ended up, the reason I came to Houston, of course, was Bible school, because I was very much involved in a religious church sect, if you will. And and that's what brought me to Houston. So
that's amazing. All right. And then from Houston, what was your career, I guess, after Bible school? And bring us forward to now.
Well, so, my career is actually, I've been involved in a lot of different sectors. I often joke I'm not a jack of all trades, but many. After I graduated, I actually self-funded my education, went to school part-time, got my business degree. When I began to see a world beyond the church after I got out of the church, and that's what led me into finance. I worked for Mellon Mortgage. I worked for Bank of America, which was at the time Nations Bank. Every year my career was growing, and but through all that, I got caught up in quite a few layoffs around 2003 or so. Got caught up in a huge layoff with Bank of America, and that's when I did that. What do I want to do when I grow up? Yeah. That's actually how I got involved in the LGBTQ community. I was finishing up my degree at the time. I'm always grateful Bank of America did help me fund some of that. And but then when I got that layoff, I just really started looking at what do I want to do? And I got involved in LGBTQ community, but more specifically politics around the LGBTQ community.
Wow. So what exactly led you from Bank of America to the politics side of things? I mean, finance to politics, that's a huge difference. That's a jump. That's a full leap. Yeah. Were you always interested in the political side of things, or?
Always very interested, of course, just as a reference this week, we had with President Biden and Vice President Harris, their inauguration yesterday. Yay. That was the kind of thing that I was growing up as a kid. I always watched. I loved it. I always loved about reading the president's history. So that's definitely been a part of who I am, but tying into that bigger, this wonderful country we live in terms of our democracy and our model that I think works. Sometimes it doesn't work great for everyone, but it does work. So, when I got caught up in that layoff and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, I started seeking out volunteer opportunities. And I remember at that time, I got a postcard. I'll never forget it. I got a postcard in the mail, and it said, it was from the Lesbian and Gay Rights Lobby of Texas, which is now Equality Texas. Most people will know it as Equality Texas. And they said, if you want to volunteer, send us this card, and we're going to be starting, volunteer opportunities in Houston. I thought, okay, filled it out at the time, mailed it in, and I got a call from someone on staff, and they said, "We understand you want to volunteer." And I said, "I do. I'm really, I'd love to help." They were going to start a voter ID project here. They were doing a lot of work around that. And then the question was, okay, well, if we wanted to do like some phone banking and if, all of this grassroots work, if we wanted to have a place where we could do mail outs and do this, do you know somewhere where there'd be phones where we could do this? So what that told me was, oh, they haven't even set up.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, gosh, I don't, but I do know somebody that does. And I reached out to Maria Gonzalez, who was very active with the GLBT political caucus. And I always love this story because we sat at an old bookstore on Montrose. And this is how I saw the conversation going. Maria, here, the Lesbian Gay Rights Lobby of Texas is looking for all these things. They want to start this. They want to do this. Here you go. Let me know how I can help. And then Maria's, the way her frame was, great, Tammy, you can do this. This is wonderful. We're going to make this happen. And I always joke, Maria got me involved in politics.
Wow.
I mean, I joked with her when she said, you can do this, and this is what you need to do. And I remember I was like you're talking to me? Yeah. But that is, that was the spark I needed. And I literally started running a project called Equality Knocks in Houston for LGRL because, wasn't any kind of large dollars by any means, but the caucus sponsored that. And then I also was a founder at the time. We launched an organization to house that voter ID work called the Houston Equal Rights Alliance. So all of those pieces is what really drew me into the LGBTQ community, but certainly the issues, and what really spoke to my soul was seeing and understanding this lack of equality and equity that we had and that we have.
Right. Still here.
Wow, you're the foundation of that, becoming what it is now, which is, I don't think, do you realize it, or are you just like, it's just something I do?
Well, we ended up, with when we called it the Houston Equal Rights Alliance HERA, we did amazing work with HERA. We literally did multiple years of voter ID work at Pride, for example. We knocked on doors. At the time, we were working around our wonderful Texas legislature had introduced a constitutional amendment to ban gay and lesbian marriage, to enshrine it into our state's constitution. And so we took up, the work of IDing people that said, no, we don't want to enshrine that kind of discrimination in one of our state's most important documents. And so we literally I organized volunteers. I had volunteers that came to me. They were so upset and so angry because now they're feeling attacked, and they started knocking on doors, never had done that in their lives. Imagine knocking on someone's door and saying, "Hi, ma'am, how's there, what do you think about a constitutional amendment to ban gay and lesbian marriage?" And, but with that, the goal was to ID voters. We knew we weren't going to necessarily win that fight in Texas, but it was about building a power base of voters. And the caucus had already had a base that they had acquired over the years. So we wanted to build on that. When we finished up that project and we wrapped everything up into Equality Texas, I think we dropped about 17,000 voter ID records.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you say voter ID, what exactly?
So think about if I knock on your door and I want to ask you a series of questions. I'm trying to see, in this case, we were trying to see where do you stand, on this amendment to our state's constitution, and then I can ID you. One meant you were like, "Oh, absolutely not. This is crazy. I'll support you any way I can." Two is like, "Nope, I'll vote against it. Thank you." And 3, not so sure. 4, no. And 5, slam the door. And with that, then we could reach back out to these voters and get them to the polls. We could communicate to them because now we know where they stand, right? if they support or if they don't, well, let's not waste time, contacting them. So it is
Basically,
pure
like
grassroots strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like market research, what, Google and Facebook do now, you were doing it on foot.
Yes.
And
yes.
then targeting the ones you wanted to target, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
And what got me so ignited to do that work was when, we know that this started under the Bush administration when they started attacking our community around marriage equality. This wasn't a fight that our community was looking for in, the early 2000s by any means. But the conservative, particularly the religious right, they saw a closing window of opportunity as the country was changing. And they needed to capitalize on these social issues, and attacking our community became target number one. And I just said, no, now we can't do that.
Right.
We've got to do something.
Definitely. So now you are president and CEO of the Greater Houston LGBT Chamber of Commerce, which is just phenomenal because, your background really started there. It's just the best segue. So tell us about starting the chamber. How did you come up with the idea? What did you have to do to start it? How has this journey been for you?
Well, so it truly has been an amazing journey. And to be able to work and as you said, Shenice, to combine, my background, because it's the business piece, right? It's the political piece. It's also all the work that I've done around, strategy, even my work around customer service, all of those pieces, operations. But it started, it was in 2015. I actually saw an article on the Houston Chronicle, and they were talking about the Super Bowl that had been held or was going to be held that year in San Francisco. And for the first time ever, the NFL, through their Business Connect program, was going to accept, as part of that program, LGBTBE, or business enterprise certified businesses, along with, and most people know that as like minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, even veteran or disabled. This is a certification for LGBT businesses that are 51% or more LGBT owned. So I'm reading this article and I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Right? There's this certification. So I said, and I started my business in 2012, working around a lot of governmental relations, doing a lot of project management, a holistic community engagement type work for some nonprofits. And I said, well, I need to get my business certified. That's when the light bulb went off. One, I needed to get certified. And two, I went to find, because if you're a member of your local affiliate LGBTQ Chamber, the certification fees waived. Well, guess what? I had to join Austin to get my certification fee waived.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So I was like, why don't we have a chamber in Houston? So I called the
fourth largest city in the United States.
Exactly. Talking about a gap, right? You got one in San Antonio, North Texas, and Austin, and glaringly missing, obviously missing is Houston. So I called the NGLCC, and I'm kind of, they can tell I'm very energetic and passionate about this. So I'm like, talking about this chamber. They said, well, some people have contacted us about starting a chamber. But one person, in particular is Gary Wood. And I said, well, I know Gary. And little did I know, Gary had a similar path, and he was going to the NGLCC saying, when you need a chamber. And they're like, do you know Tammi Wallace? So that's how it started, in the sense of Gary and I coming together going, we have to have a chamber. The NGLCC, so they, while we're a completely standalone organization, in order to have this affiliate relationship with them, you have to produce a certain amount of documents. You have to, indicate to them a business plan, things that you're going to do, and they have to deem that this makes sense to really qualify you as an affiliate chamber. So Gary and I went through that process, and in 2015, we were. I've always called Gary, at the time, my chamber husband, because we were working night and day together. And Yeah, and then in 2015, Sam McClure, who was then the senior vice president for the NGLCC, her family was close to Houston, in fact, the Woodlands, and so she was here for the holidays. We met, mind you, the Super Bowl was going to be in 2017. Okay,
Right.
so we're sitting, I'll never forget it, in a restaurant in the Woodlands, and she's looking at Gary and I saying, "You really need to launch this chamber by April," and we're like, "Okay." Like a total startup organization.
Right.
But Gary and I being Gary and I, we're like, got it. No problem. Okay. We'll do it in April. We come back from the holidays and Sam says, oh, by the way, we need to do it in February.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. But we did it. Yeah. We did it. We did it, and we did it with a huge lift from our colleague Tony Vetta in North Texas LGBTQ Chamber.
Yes.
Yeah, they let us back end off their system,
Yeah.
handled our membership processing for the first 90 days till we can get our system in place. And you know, one of the great parts of that story, the reason we did that is because that Business Connect program was going to kick off with the NFL, so we needed to use that, get LGBT suppliers into that Business Connect program. We ended up throughout that year and leading up to the Super Bowl and through the Super Bowl, had 8 of our businesses do business through contracts with their certification.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's amazing. So I just want to backtrack just a little bit so we can
Yeah, please.
get a good handle on exactly what is the meaning and function of the chamber.
Yeah.
What's the point of it? Why should people be looking at joining their local, affiliate of the NGLCC, which is National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce? So,
It's actually National LGBT Chamber. They rebranded only the name, though. They kept the acronym because NGLCC is how they are so commonly known.
Right.
So they opted to keep the old acronym, but use, of course, the new, more updated name. But you know, that's a good.
The updated name is what again?
The National LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. And Shenice, that's a good question. Like, why join the chamber? Our chamber, we are connecting our business owners every day. We always get a question: do I have to be gay to join the chamber? Absolutely not. I estimate about a third of our members are allies, in fact. And people join our chamber because they want to do business together. People join the Greater Houston LGBT Chamber because they want to feel comfortable with who they are as business owners. People join the chamber because they want to get certified. People join the chamber because we know how to throw a party. We have a lot of great, fun at our events. Yeah. People always tell me, they're like, we have all felt so welcome at the Greater Houston LGBT Chamber. And I haven't been involved myself. I've been involved in networking groups, but not a lot of chambers in the past. And I couldn't figure out why. And then I landed on it. I mean, people can just be comfortable with who they are. And it's authentic engagement. Our members really care about helping each other and helping each other succeed.
Right. No, definitely. I know that I came across the chamber when I was still working corporate America. And I was working at HP, and I saw somewhere, I don't know where, but I came across that the SBA, the Small Business Administration, was doing a workshop in conjunction with the chamber. And I was like, whoa, they have a chamber for gay people? I have to check this out. I've never even heard of this before. I was so curious. I attended the webinar and I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to join, how to attend an event. And I do have to say, I kept coming back because of exactly what you said. The events were really warm. People really wanted to connect. There's always someone to talk to connect with, to, follow up with, to go to coffee with. I mean, it's just, it was amazing. And so I joined really soon after. I think I attended maybe 2 events and then I joined. But yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, and this was years ago, I found it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. Yeah. And I was I was getting into real estate at that time, or already in real estate. So I wanted somewhere that I could have my business represented. And I didn't quite know where, because I used to go to a lot of networking events, specifically for real estate investing and real estate related events. But it was so, how do I want to say this? It was very one type of person at most of those events, and I didn't really see myself. And so, and what I mean is, especially there are certain industries that are very white male heavy, and that's basically every single event I go to. And anyways, I wanted somewhere where I could have a presence, plus completely be myself and not be scared of, what people thought, and still have a business presence and being able to network with other businesses that either support our community or is a part of it. I mean, I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, and I can backdoor and say, for me, contrary to belief, that I'm an introvert, and so it's very hard for me to like force myself to go to meet and talk. But every event that I go to, like, I'm laughing and joking, being silly, and that means for me that I feel really, really comfortable to be myself. And so I don't think I've been to any other networking events or organizations where I felt comfortable like that. So you definitely feel that once you join the chamber.
And maybe it's just the fact that we, I think as a community, I feel like we all so badly want to be ourselves. I know society at large, I think really wants to be themselves, but they tend to have that stuffy, more, not themselves type of thing. But for us, I'm just like, as a part of the community, it's like you have a million walls down if you know you're in an open, inviting, accepting place, a safe space.
Exactly. I liken it to, I've often, when I talk to groups about how, we have to decide every day as LGBTQ people how we're going to show up, right? We have to decide if we're going to put that armor on, and I always do that, if I'm going to walk into a space, am I going to say my wife? Am I going to identify who I am? Am I going to identify what I do? All of these pieces that we have to decide sometimes before we get to an event or in the moment of a conversation talking to somebody. When you're at the chamber, all that goes away. You walk in with your full and authentic self, right? None of that matters in the sense of you just don't have to think about it. We could use all of our brain power at that point on who we're talking to, talking about our businesses, making connections without having to worry about what the person on the other side, is thinking.
Yeah.
And that is what the chamber does. That's the environment that we create. And our goal is to help businesses, and particularly LGBTQ-owned businesses, grow and thrive.
Yeah. And I just want to say, people that are listening to this, sometimes you might need to reflect and realize, could it be that you're not comfortable with yourself or your sexuality or anything about yourself on why your business is not maybe going the way you want it to go? Because that was something that I had to realize. Like, I had to step back and realize, okay, I don't feel comfortable. Why don't I feel comfortable? And so once I got into an environment where I saw other successful people in the LGBT community, I was just like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. And that's another reason why Shenice and I started this podcast, believe it or not, because of that primary reason.
And we're able to build pretty much our team for our business, so for on the real estate side of things, we were able to meet all these great people that have become assets to our business. So for example, insurance, on the property insurance side of things, we've been able to partner with multiple agents specifically from the chamber, and we don't have to worry that our clients are gonna feel some type of way, especially if we have a client who is in the LGBTQ community. We can say, hey, they're family. Don't worry. Tell them you have a wife, and it's two wives. It's not going to matter.
Right.
You can be completely you and completely yourself, just like you are with us, with the people that we partner with. And that just, I feel like, takes everything to another level, because I think that's what our society needs. It's like, we all need to be inclusive. We all need to be okay being ourselves.
Yep. And Shenice, you just hit on, I mean, huge benefit, right? Just to be alone in the chamber, right? But then our members are reflected on our public directory. What message does that send? These are LGBTQ supportive businesses, and LGBTQ and allied consumers, even on a higher level, allied consumers want to do business with companies that they know are LGBT supportive. I talked to one of our insurance agents the other day, and he was just talking to me about how much business he's generated from the chamber. And that is primarily from him being in the directory. We pretty much know why, right? Because unlike our other agents, he's not as active at events, but just by being at that in the directory, tremendous business.
Wow, that's amazing.
And the other thing, I would say, and so this is what really, really fuels me. I think a lot of our members, they join and they're looking at it from their business level, wanting to do business, wanting to feel comfortable, all those pieces. And that's exactly what we do. But the overarching work that we do, and this is where our advocacy lens comes in, and this is what fuels me, is this piece, this whole mission really around economic inclusion, economic opportunity. We don't always have a seat at the table when it comes to our business community, and we are actively working to change that locally, in the region, and statewide through the collaboration with the Texas LGBTQ chambers. Our community is woefully behind when it comes to, and you both know this better than me, wealth generation, economic opportunity, all of those pieces that because we've been beaten down, disenfranchised, marginalized for years, and even more so particular, groups within our community, we have to do this work around economic inclusion to lift our community up. And one great path is through business ownership. And that is what gets me excited and gets me engaged every day.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, us coming together as a community and in a business sense, I mean, it's just going to take us to another level. And you're 100% right. We are behind, but we can come together and make these strides together to get further and further ahead. And not only that, I love being able to see and I know that some corporations are cutting a check but they are cutting the check. They are trying to have visibility within our community. They're trying to support things like our chamber so we can grow, so we can engage more members. And that just says to me, like, okay, I want to go out and support some of these supporting corporations more and cut off some other ones that
exactly
against us, that fund the stuff that really doesn't do good by our community. So at the end of the day, we can see which corporations on a much larger scale, who's for us and who's not for us, who is going to support our community and who is not. And even, this week we were able to access the meeting talking about what to do with our LGBTBE certification this week. And it was tremendously valuable. I mean, this membership is giving us face time with these representatives from major corporations, which I thought was amazing. And not only that, with the partnership with the other Texas LGBT chambers, FaceTime with businesses all from around the state. So at the end of the day, to be
across the nation, because
across the nation
we've
too.
done a few San Diego chamber events as well,
So. And the national events. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's like a web that just keeps getting woven, which is amazing.
Yep.
And I mean, this week, you just see the power in it when you do the work, right? You get certified. Now we are, our company, Empower Financial, is, well, we've been for at least a year, an LGBTBE certified business, right? So we're a minority business. And we're Black and we're female, but this is the certification that we carry, and that's huge. And we got FaceTime with Shell. We got FaceTime with Facebook.
Disney.
We've gotten it with Disney through the National Chamber of the Community
Yep.
Color Initiative with Disney. We've gotten FaceTime with a lot of different companies. And the thing is, if you haven't done your part to even have a seat at that table, that's one less person and one less company that you've had FaceTime with to figure out if it's possible at some point in the future to do business with them.
All of what you just said, Shenice, is like, and think about that for, you're making an investment in the chamber, right? You get all of these benefits and you're just scratching the service you touched about programming. The LGBTQ Roundtable is just one program that we do, not to mention our events to connect our members. And then you have all of these other events like our member Facebook page where you can promote your business, etc. All of that, plus this connection to the statewide business community. And you get to invest in an organization that is working every day to make sure that our community has a seat in terms of the economic development sphere in our city, in our region, and in our state.
100%. I mean, again, we're just two people and we can't make it to all of the different events and opportunities that the chamber provides for us. But even just the few times a month that we're able to do some of these things, I mean, it's astounding what you can do, who you can get in front of, how many people you can meet. And if you're intentional about building those relationships, your business can completely take off. And it can be 100% supported by the LGBTQ community and your ally community. That's it. I mean,
exactly.
And not only that, also getting the skills to even teach yourself how to network. Who cares if you just started your business, you don't know how to talk to someone. As you start going to these meetings and networking and how open people are and wanting to help you, like, it helps build that confidence within yourself to get you to a point where you are going to gain those skills. So it's not only helping you connect with other businesses, it's helping you as a business owner and knowledge and skills and all of the things that comes with trying to have a successful business.
And you get to meet amazing people, because a lot of the times we talk about, well, we never talked about it on here, but we talk about how Shan and I actually met at a chamber event.
I love it. How do you do it? Heart. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. See, we've even been responsible for love, and can we take credit? We've got one of our board members that she and her wife are getting ready to have a baby. Can we? Our first chamber baby.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like, some people are still out there really searching for their community, and it's right in front of you. You just gotta go and be present.
Yeah.
So I just think it's amazing that and even just friendships too. Like, we have made probably some of the people we are closest to at this point in time have come from the chamber. Literally.
and everything we're talking about, right? I mean, this is what we've been able to build in 5 years. This is our milestone 5-year anniversary. And I just tell people, we are just getting started with what we can do. As you said, Shenice, sitting in the 4th largest city in the country, we have so much opportunity to build, to grow, and to lift our businesses up in a way that's never happened before. And even, with our collaboration at the statewide level.
Absolutely. I think it's tremendous. So I'm really glad that we get to really dive in and talk about this here, because I mean, it's just it's not even, I don't even think it's a unique opportunity. It's a missed opportunity. It's right here for us. And it's nowhere even close to where it's going to be, from a local level and national level.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's tremendous.
Yeah, if you utilize it, like, if you're, serious about it and utilize it, the return on investment it's
exponential.
Yeah, it's
definitely.
And I'm going to tell you, I mean, you both know with the pandemic, we haven't missed a beat. Yeah. We, pandemic hit of March of last year. What did we do? We immediately switched over. We got online. We started offering even more types of networking opportunities, resources for our members, put up our COVID-19 resource page. We engage with our strategic partner, the U.S. Small Business Administration, the Greater Houston Partnership, all of these pieces. And now here we are in 2021. And while we're still dealing with this pandemic, we've rolled out a new platform. We had our first chamber networking cafe this morning, which people loved, just pure networking for 60 minutes in a way that people can control. And, that's all the things that we're doing in a pandemic. So when we can get back to in person, we see this great hybrid model of both in person and virtual, because we are the Greater Houston LGBT Chamber. So this gives us opportunity to connect with business owners, whether they're in Houston proper or not.
Right. No, 100%. I think it's an amazing model. I'm so glad I just happened to come across the chamber.
Well, can I just say how grateful I am? So you haven't said it, but you are one of our board members, Shenice, and we appreciate your contributions over the last few years. You actually serve as our treasurer and our membership committee chair, and we're just so incredibly grateful to you for making that investment and helping with your leadership.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm just so appreciative of you. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you.
So Tammy.
I feel the same way with both of you. So you two give me so much energy. Our conversations are, I hang up the phone, and I'm just smiling from ear to ear. It's great.
No, I always have so much to tell you every time.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So I do want to ask a question, because we talked about all the positive things. What are some challenges that you encounter, being the CEO president of the chamber?
Yeah, I would say challenges. I mean, we're quickly getting to a point where we need more resources. So there's so much opportunity that's coming our way. And even, as companies, you mentioned, all these companies wanting to be supportive, et cetera, right? There's more opportunities to reach them, to get them more involved, to do specific programming around LGBTQ ERG groups, to do more work with our statewide coalition, but that all takes resources.
Right.
So, and one of the challenges is in our first 5 years, all of our growth has been organic. So our membership, we're getting closer to growing the chamber in a way that we think will be, it'll put us on par with other chambers in the city. So in 5 years, we've had dramatic growth, but is that where we want to be? No. If we get more resources, can we do targeted marketing? Can we do membership sales? Can we do, we want to share everything that we're sitting here talking about, because we want to make sure to reach all these LGBTQ entrepreneurs and let them know that this space is there for them. Right. And so that's the biggest challenge right now, is just needing more resources. We get more resources when we can get more members. We obviously get more revenue, more corporate partners. So I would invite anybody, whether, small businesses or, corporate larger organizations, let's talk. Now is a fantastic time to be part of the Greater Houston LGBT Chamber.
Right.
Well, I want to put you on a spot. So
okay.
Every business out there that is either ally, LGBT, or corporate, and you give your elevator pitch on why they should join the chamber.
Why they should join the chamber? They should join the chamber to connect with the LGBT business community, be visible in the LGBTQ community as a whole. And with the Greater Houston LGBT Chamber, you are seen, visible, and active 12 months out of the year.
That's right. And we appreciate all of our corporate partners. I mean, we can't do all of this work without them. And so we need more companies on board so that we can move forward with the mission, so we can bridge the gap in a lot of these different areas that we're seeing within our community, and just increase the visibility, change people's minds of all the things that that people just think that we are not entitled to, or and Tammy, I want to touch on this real quick, because I just feel like it's like what Shan was saying, how much growth you get as a business, but as an individual with the chamber, we went in 2019, right? We went
Mhm.
to Austin
Yeah.
for the day at the
Mhm.
Capitol.
Yep.
That was my first real political experience. And political, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm not from this country, or I've just never been really too interested in it, or it was just too overwhelming for me to
Mhm.
even understand why it should be important to me. But that was my first real experience starting to understand the power of our voice and the need for us to come forward and come together in order to stand up for our rights and
Yep.
to get things pushed forward step by step. And I mean, I just remember we went, and you're in this building and everything's just moving, just people are moving constantly, and I had no idea that you can go and speak to someone in power in government and just literally go knock on the door and say, hey, I want to have a conversation about X. And if they're available, you can have that conversation. And you can put power behind those words by asking friends, family, acquaintances to say, hey, call in and please let your voice be heard in numbers on this issue. I went in person and I was able to talk about this, and we need to make sure that they know, this representative knows that this is really important to our community, and we need them to push. We need them to start talking about this. We need this to come to the forefront. And so I was clueless before that. Absolutely.
And I love when you both share that story, because it was, I could just see it. It was so empowering. And that's what we want to do. I mean, this big piece of what we do is around this advocacy work. We say, our tagline, we are the leading voice for the LGBTQ and allied business community. Part of having that voice is making sure that we're seen at City Hall, in Austin, at the Capitol, right? Even at the federal level, where that makes sense, in collaborating, with the National LGBT Chamber. Before 2019, we had never had, during a legislative session, the LGBTQ business community represented. Can you imagine? We have never had a voice until 2019. And here we are now sitting in a legislative session under a pandemic. And while we are not going to be able to do an advocacy day, we're working on other ways to get our members connected. But that is some of the most powerful work that we can be doing, both as a chamber and as individual business owners.
Which I think is just crazy to me, because I feel like, and I could be wrong because I haven't researched the numbers, but I think a lot of the businesses that's in this, especially Houston metro area, are LGBT owned.
Right.
Which is,
but they're undercover LGBT owned. A lot of them, a majority, I would have to say that a majority are. And it's so funny, because now that this past year, in large part because of the chamber and because of us being comfortable, it's inspired this podcast. It's inspired a complete rebranding to our business. I mean, just the simple fact that we literally, it's like you said, Tammy, we have to think about the choices that we make every day. And so when we got certified, and we have that logo that we can add, that LGBTVE certified logo that we can now add to our email signature and add to the website. And we literally had to sit there and think, and, in probably, I think 2019 is when we got the certification, and we were like, should we add this?
Yeah.
Should we be all out there?
This show is supported by the Empower Team, your queer real estate professionals. Based in the Houston, Texas area, we can help you buy, sell, lease, or invest in Houston real estate. If you're not in the Houston area but want to start or add affordable rental properties to your portfolio, we'd love to help. And if you're looking for homes in your own area, we can still help you find an LGBTQ plus friendly real estate agent, a service we provide for free. Please reach out to us at homes@empowerteamtx.com. That's HOMES at EMPOWERTEAMTX.com.
A decision point, right?
Yeah.
Which and I always say it's a coming out. We may be out in our personal lives, but in 2012, when I launched my business, I had to make some decisions about whether I was going to be out with my business.
Right.
And in that case, depending on who I was talking to, I had bios, and I had what I called my gay bio and my non-gay bio, right? And
Wow.
and I decided at some point that I'm not living like this anymore.
Yeah.
No, that's not who I am. I can't be authentic if I'm doing that. So I said, that's got to stop. And but those decision points, our businesses face that all the time, right? And if we can create a platform and create opportunities for our business where they can basically say, I'm going to be out, and if you don't want to do business with me, no problem, because there's tons of other people that do, and our values align, and we actually want to do business together, because guess what? We're great businesses and we have something to offer each other. Our sexual orientation, our gender identity, this doesn't matter.
Right. It doesn't. Absolutely not. And so we completely rebranded in 2020. I mean, we're like rainbow everything. Okay. We're out loud and proud.
Because we realize there are so many LGBT realtors, but you don't really see any of them that, I mean, we can brand ourselves. And I think a lot of them are afraid to even put the rainbow or say their LGBT realtor. And it's mind blowing that no one's done that yet. Yeah. So hopefully we'll be the first ones out there to actually.
I mean, they're out there, just far and few between. Right. I mean, and as you get further into the community, you'll see that it's even worse for the transgender population or community. It just gets worse, and it's like we have to do something. And the only way that I can see that we'll make tremendous progress is if we come together and we support each other. We have to create more safe spaces, including in the business community. It just has to happen. Like, why is that? We've been talking about it. There's only one known transgender agent, like real estate agent in the Houston metro area, who's really just completely out there with marketing, with everything that they are. We have 4 million people here.
Yeah. And then 6 million plus in the metro. I mean, in the greater Houston.
I mean, that's crazy to think about. And I guess the rest of the LGBTQ plus realtors, and even in the financial industry, I mean, you can barely find them. And so anyways, not to get on a rant, but I just think it's important to note that we're scared as a community, and we're uncomfortable. And I'm just so grateful that it's been a path, however, and a journey for us. But over the last couple of years, we have become more and more and more and more comfortable. I don't even think we're 100% yet, but we're getting closer and closer every single day, week, month that passes by. We get closer and closer to where we want to be.
We got to move forward.
Yes,
but I don't want to get on this, but I realized that I suffer from, I think when we did the group meeting, internalized homophobia.
Yeah.
A lot of us do.
Yeah. A lot of us do. I mean, particularly those of us that have grown up in deeply religious backgrounds. And that was part of my struggle to come out, right? Because I grew up in a religious in a church that told me that I was going to go to hell, just because of what I was feeling and what I was thinking, and reconciling that is it's so hard, and particularly for young people. And then we know with LGBTQ youth homelessness, they get kicked out of the house. This is a lot that we all deal with, just to be who we are.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important. Yeah. Especially this day and age. We have to focus on it, and we have to support each other at the end of the day.
And it's why I love hearing what you both are saying about the place and the space that we've been able to create for both of you. And we want to do more of that. our community needs to thrive, and we can do that, right, when we have economic opportunity, when we can feel comfortable financially. And the chamber has a great role to play, both now and then going beyond that. Everything from, we can look at workforce development and some other things that we are thinking about for the future.
Yeah, 100%.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. All right, so I'm ready to move to my favorite part.
Okay.
So, the coming out story. Okay, so
Mm.
let us know. Let us know your coming out story.
Well, okay. So, I didn't come out until I was 25. And I actually joke, I didn't come out. My sister did it for me. And the way that happened is she and I were very close in age growing up. So we argued a lot. My mother would tell you. And she got mad at me about something. And she was the only person that I had actually come out to. I mean, she knew. I really hadn't told her, but she had an inkling. And anyway, one day I'm at work and I get this message on my voicemail, and she's like mad about something. And oh, by the way, I told Mom you're gay. Click. It was like, and I'm at work going, and it was like, so, I mean, I remember that moment and the fear I felt and what that meant. And I can't tell anybody around me. I can't say anything. I can't really, I'm just paralyzed. I was in my cubicle. I'll never forget it. It was probably about 2 months later. My mom was in Houston. She was a bone marrow donor for my uncle at MD Anderson, who had cancer. And we actually got to spend a little over a week together. And there was a lot of conversation that happened during that time. And what I finally, realized is that I spent most of my life trying to make other people happy. And this was up to me. Regardless of who agreed or did not agree with me being a lesbian, that I had to be true to myself. I had to be happy. That was up to me. And that's what I told my mom. And it took me a while to get to that point. I'll never forget when I took her to the airport to fly back to Mississippi. And then I got back home, and I still have it to this day. She wrote a note, and it was like, I love you, and I will always love you no matter what. You'll always be my daughter.
Oh,
and that, just getting that kind of validation from her. I mean, we need that in so many ways, from parents, from family. It was a relief for me. And it's not that she understood everything, but it opened a door, and it was very, and we both walked through it in a lot of ways. And so I've always joked, thank goodness my sister outed me. Yeah.
wow.
So I like to ask this question. When did you realize that, hey, I might be attracted to the same sex? When did that start playing in your head, or not playing in your head? I don't know the proper way to say it, but when did you know, basically?
Yeah. I always knew growing up, even probably even as a young kid. My sister always used to joke I wore tough skins, if anybody can remember those. And I was
Never heard of them.
I was very athletically minded. I always wanted short hair, so not that the masculine part of me, if you will, that was just the defining part, but it certainly differentiated me from people that were around me at the time. So I knew these things were different. But as I got into my teens, I began to realize I would develop these attractions to women, girls, friends, and it just went beyond for me. It went beyond just friendship. But it was still hard for me to reconcile that because of this religious aspect. I tried to push it down. Because remember, practically every Sunday I'm hearing at church, homosexuals are going to hell, pits of hell, right? So I'm dealing with all this as I'm a teenager. And subsequently, even decided what got me to Houston was to go to Bible school, where I'm still dealing with it and trying to push all that down. until I got to a
You
point where I
were
couldn't
in
anymore.
denial. You feel like you
Yeah.
were in denial your whole teenage life. You're just constantly in denial so much that you moved from Mississippi to Houston to go to Bible school.
Yeah. And
Or were
are you
you
ready for
running
this?
away? Were you running away?
Oh no, because you know what? Here you go. You ready for this? I thought I was going to be a minister's wife
Oh wow.
and go to some country, and we were going to be missionaries, you know, and spread the gospel. That's what I saw for my life. And I think to a certain extent, I probably was running to something that I thought would cure me. Like if I could get to Bible school, I could meet somebody, we could get, you know, do the missionaries, you know, work and get to that level that it would just go away. And of course that didn't happen.
Okay. So what came out of Bible school? What made you change your mind?
Yeah. Well, so this was one of those very pivotal moments for me in my life because I'm 17 years old, moving to Houston. I had turned 18 the following year, and I actually fell in love with somebody at the Bible school. I did. Was very much attracted to her. We spent a lot of time together. I don't know that the feeling was mutual. We never got there because what happened was, and you know, I've gotten more comfortable talking about this story because it was very painful for me when I'm 18 years old. But I got kicked out of the Bible school because they thought I was a lesbian. And why? First, they'd had problems with homosexuality at the school. Imagine that. I mean, we are everywhere, right? Yeah, hello. But because I was spending a lot of time with this particular person, and she was even, you know, in the same room as me, mainly nothing was happening. She was in the same room with me because her room was a complete and total, she was just a slob. So she would sleep, you know, with me at times. Anyway, and there was just a moment where our dorm mother just felt uncomfortable about this, felt like something was going on. But guess who got kicked out of Bible school? Me. She was a missionary's wife, a missionary's daughter, and she, her father was very high up in the church. It was really one of the times in my life that I've learned how this power structure it didn't work. It didn't work for me, right? As I was the low person on that totem pole, and they needed to solve this problem. And I got, they basically, the president of the college called me in on a Wednesday and said, "You have to get out, Tammi." Now, I want to tell you, mind you, the year before, 2 years before that, I had been saving my mom was a single parent. I had been saving all my money to get to Houston to go to Bible school. And 6 months before I was to leave for Bible school, my mom lost her job.
Wow.
I ended up having to give her pretty much everything that was in my savings to pay for our house, to pay for the, you know, electricity and all that to help. And I didn't think I was going to be able to go to Bible school. My home church found out about that. They raised the money for me to come to Houston to go to school. But imagine when, you know, a year and a half later, I'm getting thrown out of the school. I'm begging. I'm like, this is my life. This is what I think God wants me to do. How can you throw me out of the school? And I'm having to drive 12 hours back to Mississippi, crying the whole way to walk into my home church that Sunday and everybody go, "What are you doing here?" Right. And I have to say to them, "Well, Bible school just wasn't for me." Yeah. Because I can't say.
You can't even say the truth. You can't say, yeah, because they thought I was a lesbian.
Right. Can't say I think I'm a lesbian. I had, you know, I had 2 other roommates, and I'm like down on my knees crying, bawling, because the president of the college says, "Okay, Wednesday you have to be out." Okay. I begged him. He and his wife were in the meeting. "Okay, we're going to pray on this." Saturday comes. "Nope, you're done. Get out." Between Wednesday and Saturday, I literally was on my knees praying night and day. And I'm, you know, clearly I'm not going to classes. My friends are going, "What's going on?" And I can't tell them. I can't say they think I'm a lesbian. They didn't even know why I left the school. They might have assumed. And the person that I had really grown fond of and developed feelings for cut me off. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I drove home. I went to my home church, and I felt like a failure. I felt like, and then of course I'm like, what are you doing, God? I don't understand this. That was a Sunday. On Monday, my mom knew I was struggling with this. On Monday, she calls me. My sister and my stepdad had gone to work. My mom was, of course, at work. She calls me and says, "Look, let's go to dinner tonight." Okay. We go to dinner, and she said, "It seems like to me you're really wondering if you should have stayed in Houston." So I had a part-time job here. I worked at Fingers Furniture for some old Houstonians. And my boss loved me. And she's like, stay, you can sit up here. And I'm like, no, I have to go back. I have no family. And with that, that Monday night, my mom threw out the security blanket that really is why I'm sitting here talking to both of you right now. And that is, she said to me, if you're always going to wonder about Houston, if it's always going to be a what if, maybe you need to answer the question. And then she said, you can always come home.
Mm-hmm.
And when she said that, there was this tug pulling me back to Houston. And thank God I got back in that car that Friday. I had to get my alternator fixed, got back in that car, and I drove back to Houston. And I've been here ever since.
Wow.
And that I've been in Houston since 1986. And what's so, talking about the universe working for you, there's with the particular church I was involved in, there's a very active Bible school in Jackson, Mississippi. I lived in North Mississippi, right up near Memphis. So wouldn't that have been the logical choice, is to go to Jackson? But I had a friend from the church who had come to Houston to go to the Bible school here. I came to visit her and said, I want to go to Houston because she's there. And I liked Houston. Thank goodness I didn't wind up in Jackson, Mississippi. I wound up in Houston, Texas. And that's exactly where I was meant to be. And exactly the reason I'm here is to do the work that I'm doing through the chamber. I've found, as I've peeled away from organized religion, I know that this is my religion in terms of the way I give back to community and show love and help people.
Wow.
So what month did you move back to Houston in 86?
Let's see. So I actually moved here in August of 96 to go to school. And then it would have been March of 87 that I did that. I was getting kicked out more or less. And then, so it would have been March of 87 coming back. It's not that I didn't think about, coming back, but I found a way to stay.
Shane is going to
that's the year I was born, 86. So
now I'm dating myself.
I already knew this was coming.
Connection.
Oh my God.
But I was born in March of 86. So
okay. See, 86 was a great year. It was a defining year for me. And sometimes I can't believe I've been in Houston this long, but thank goodness I wound up in Houston, Texas.
So I'm assuming that you're a minister's wife now?
No. No, that didn't work out. So no.
How do you find love in Houston?
By my wife, Mercedes, she is actually retired now. She was the general counsel for the Harris County Hospital District for about almost 30 years. And we actually met. So that political connection is kind of where our love connection happens. I went to an event, a women professionals in government event. And well, let me back up. It was October of 2008. I used to work for then State Representative Ellen Cohen, who eventually was Mayor Pro Tem of the city of Houston. I was her chief of staff. I was with her over at LBJ Hospital where she was speaking. That's where Mercedes and I first crossed paths. And it was like, I was focused on Ellen. I needed to do my work, but she definitely noticed me. And I did sort of remember her. Fast forward to May of the following year, we connected this women professionals in government event. Actually, Anise Parker was the speaker for that. I'm literally coming in because I had to hit 3 events before that. Coming in, Mercedes is about ready to go out. We cross paths and we're like, hey, I know you. We started talking and hitting it off, and then, but I didn't know, I wasn't sure. So she says something about, oh, my former partner and I, because I said something about my dogs, and I'm like,
He said that on purpose. Do you think she dropped that?
I do think she did, which then led to, hey, we should do lunch. And I'm emailing her the following day and I wasn't getting a response. And I'm like, finally she responded. She was insanely busy the next day, which then led to, hey, why don't we actually do dinner? And yeah. And so, yeah. And, yeah, she is amazing. She's been hugely supportive of the work I do. We got married in 2015. Yeah, we have six fur babies. We never intended on having three cats and 3 dogs. And but yeah, it has been it's been an amazing time with her. We've like every couple, we have ups and downs and challenges, but we always say, I mean, she's my person. She's my person. Yeah. And she is remarkable in her own way throughout her career. I remember when the first night we went to dinner, and I'm like, I'm falling for this. I am falling for her. Because when I said to her, I said, what drew you to work at the hospital district, and to do this work? And I mean, she obviously could have been working at big firms with healthcare lawyer, making tons more money. And she said to me, it's about public service. This is the way that I give. And I was like, whew.
And you almost fell over. You were just like,
yeah.
Oh, you're the one.
Yeah.
Will you marry me now?
Exactly. Yeah. She jokes that I did move my coffee pot over soon. And she's like, because I'm a coffee snob, I'll admit it. And she had her little Mr. Coffee maker, which was fine. But I'm like, no, we've got to bring over because my coffee's my thing, right? And so she said, I knew when that coffee pot was coming in and something's going on.
So were you two the stereotypical U-Haul lesbian couple?
So we reconnected in May, and probably within a year, I had living in a duplex over at Rice Village. And so I was actually spending a lot of time over here before I moved in. So yeah, but we did that mainly because she had a little pup, which became ours, Chuli. And he just, he needed more room in the yard. We didn't have a yard. So
blame it on the pup.
Yeah. So we had to be here a lot. Yeah. It was Chuli's fault. So yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm so glad you found love. Just achieved so much. And just learning from you and the rest of the chamber on the political and public service side. It's been amazing, an amazing journey. I'm really looking forward to the future and, starting to expand our minds more and more on what's important and what we need to be at the forefront for. So, it's been amazing knowing you. Yes, oh my gosh. It's so impactful,
I feel the same way. And like I said, I'm energized every time I talk to both of you. But part of it is, for me, it is the passion of connecting with people like you and seeing the results of the work that I've done that helps you. But it's also about this broader vision for our community. And I can't tell you how excited I am as we stand, at this cusp with this Biden-Harris administration that is set to be the most pro-LGBTQ plus equality administration in our nation's history. And that means the LGBTQ plus business community is going to have a seat at the table like we have never had before. So I would say as we celebrate 5 years. Hang on to your hats.
Yes.
'Cause there's a lot of great things we
Yes.
are going to do together.
Your doors.
Okay, let's move on to wrap-up questions.
Yes.
We'll do that.
All right.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah.
You go first. Go ahead.
Sounds good.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What would you say is your best money habit?
My best money habit. My best money habit. Well, I'm very, very organized with my finances. I mean, organized. I run everything through QuickBooks. Everything is accounted for. I don't have to go looking for things. Very, very organized. I'm very clear about where I stand. And then certainly try to look forward with investing as well.
Where do you find your motivation?
From these conversations we're having right here. I mean, from when I talk to chamber members and they tell me they've done business together. But that overarching piece is something that I've known since I was a kid. I just couldn't always frame it. But it's this sense of justice. It's this sense of equality and equity. Little did I know that 13-year-old Tammy, that was going to be about LGBTQ, equality. But I know now, and it's really, really what fuels me every day.
Amazing.
Alrighty. What advice would you give to someone in the LGBTQ plus community that would like to advance in their career or level up in their business?
Well, I would definitely say join the chamber. I think it's a great opportunity to get support, to engage with like-minded people who are there to support you, and tap into everything that the chamber has to offer. And here's the deal: when you tap into the chamber, you also tap into all these business owners and their networks, right? You also tap into our nonprofit members, the Montrose Center, Combined Arms, Legacy Community Health, the list goes on and on. You tap into all of that, and what better to set yourself up for success and support than to surround yourself with that kind of network and community.
I would like to add, is the chamber just for entrepreneurs or business owners? What about people that maybe have the skills and the knowledge? Are you looking for those type of members as well?
That I'm glad you asked that question, Shan, because we have gotten more interest over the past 3 or 4 years. People love just the chamber events, and they're like, "Can I join? But I don't have a business." And so we just literally this month launched officially an individual membership for those people that want to come and engage, find support, want to support the mission of the chamber. And eventually we're going to roll out some things around, it could be career development, all those pieces that if you own a business or not, going to be helpful. We've done some of that, but we can do some broader work around that as well.
That's amazing. And that's genius. I think it's definitely needed, because even when I was working corporate America, I'd always want to go to a networking event. And, there were events within the corporation, but why not meet some people outside of the corporation in a group that I definitely want to be a part of.
Especially if they get some skills that you have to give you higher pay. Yeah.
And for our members, I mean, especially if you're a real estate agent, insurance agent, whatever that looks like, that's just more consumers for for our members, our business level members to connect with. So that's a win-win all the way around. And our business level members are always looking for, and our corporate partners, employees, right? Yeah. Again, win-win.
Right. Network, and you just find your fit. When I first moved to Houston, I knew no one. I had no family here. I was planted here. Microsoft moved me here, and I only had the people at work. And so I started going to meetups. I had never done anything like that before, but I don't think I was feeling too scared about it, because I joined a lot of groups that was like new to Houston, professionals new to Houston, or, whatever the case may be. So if everybody was new, I was like, I'm going to be comfortable. Yeah. But man, if when I first moved here, I knew there was like a gay group I could go network with and, get an individual membership because I'm new and I just want to get the feel of Houston. I mean, I think that's amazing. I've never even thought about it before, but I'm just like relating it back to when I first moved here and I was like, I'm all alone. I need to meet some people. How do I do that? I don't want to go on. Well, I did go on Tinder just to meet people.
Yeah.
I did. I did.
You heard her.
I did. In my profile, it did specify.
Yeah.
Whatever. But that's how I had to meet people, is through meetup groups, through those websites and stuff like that.
That's the way it used to be.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
Next question. Do you have a favorite book or podcast?
I have two favorite podcasts that I really like. One is the TED Talks. I love to listen to TED Talks. That's probably my all-time favorite because I love the big picture thinking. But the HBR, the Harvard Business Review, is something that I routinely, because of my work around strategy and all that, I use that as a great resource.
Yeah. I'll have to check out the Harvard Business Review. I've listened to quite a bit of the TED Talk.
And I do have to say, a little fangirlhood, but Brene Brown, hello.
Oh, yeah. I love
Yes. Yes. And
listen to many of her podcasts, but I've seen her talks, and I have started reading at least one of her books. I know I've gotten a bunch of them, but I love Brene Brown. Everything that I caught up with her over the vulnerability topic.
Yep. Same way with me. That's how I first connected.
Oh my gosh, love her.
And Houston, hello, Brene, University of Houston. Yeah, of course.
Alrighty, last question. What do you like to do in your spare time?
Let's see. That's assuming I have spare time. But photography is my jam. I love it. I always say it's my happy place. I love to take photos, and primarily nature, industrial, that type of feel. And years ago, I started my Instagram, and I really don't have a lot of personal photos on there. It's all about my work that I've tried to capture over the years and through our Mercedes and I when we've traveled. So I love my photography. And one thing I'll tell you both that I've really not told anybody this, but I started a series that I call Beauty and Chaos when the pandemic started. And about midway through, so this was my outlet to deal with the pandemic and just to connect with something that just seems so right and good in the world through nature, the flowers, and all this was really coming from the yard and the neighborhood. But I started adding a hashtag at the moment I posted that photo of how many deaths from COVID that we had lost, to honor those individuals, and particularly that one at that very moment. And it's just given me strength and given me an outlet to just realize that there's greater good.
Yeah, 100%. That's amazing.
I notice your beauty and chaos every time.
Yeah,
you
the
post it on
hashtag.
Facebook.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. And when we get out of this, I will close that series up, but yeah. And I used to have a full camera, the whole bit, zoom lens, and I still do, but the iPhone cameras have gotten so good, and it's just a way to capture a piece of the day.
Right. No, definitely. Sounds good.
Alrighty. Please tell our audience how to get in touch with you so they can join the chamber or get to know you personally if you're open to that. So yeah.
Absolutely. So our website is www.houstonlgbtchamber.com. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. We've got a great YouTube channel. And then you can certainly reach me at the chamber at Tammi, that's TAMMI, Wallace, WALLACE, at HoustonLGBTChamber.com.
It has been such a pleasure. I could talk to you all night.
I know we could.
I mean,
I
man,
feel the same way. Thank you both. This has been amazing. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I mean, I know there's tons of amazing content in here, tons of just great information for people to know and to start thinking about and to start expanding their mind on. And I mean, and I know there's so much more to come from the chambers around the country, from Houston. And we're just looking forward to being on this ride with you, Tammi.
Yes.
Hey, well, thank you for being on the ride and helping us do the work we're doing at the chamber and supporting, bringing more members, encouraging people to join. Because like I said, we want to give them the place and the space to be themselves and help their businesses grow and thrive.
Awesome. All right, Tammi. Well, take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Like, subscribe, and share the video to your friends. In the comment section down below, write how good the video was.
And if you're listening to the podcast, make sure to hit a 5-star review.
Bye.